They were regarded as Hitler's most formidable combatants, striking dread across every battlefield, instantly identifiable by their distinctive jet-black uniforms and fearsome track record. Yet when the Third Reich crumbled in 1945, their chapter was far from finished. Many faced relentless pursuit and prosecution. Others disappeared entirely or quietly pieced their lives back together in a ravaged post-war Germany. Decades would pass before they would engage in a final confrontation, not through military force, but through competing narratives and historical interpretation itself. The collapse of the Waffen-SS. May 1945. The Nazi regime had disintegrated entirely. Across a devastated Europe, hundreds of thousands of Waffen-SS fighters were surrendering their weapons. Once celebrated as Hitler's most formidable force, they now found themselves either detained as prisoners or hiding across a continent in ruins. In the immediate period following the Nazi surrender, the Allied nations implemented directives mandating the complete dismantling of the SS apparatus and its various divisions. Waffen-SS formations, spanning from frontline combat divisions such as Leibstandard Adolf Hitler and Das Reich to secondary units assembled from territories under occupation, were apprehended and held by American, British, and Soviet military forces. Tens of thousands were transported into custody, still donning the very uniforms that had represented terror merely weeks prior. The judicial process unfolded swiftly. During the Nuremberg Trials, spanning November 1945 through October 1946, legal experts contended that the entire SS establishment, encompassing the Waffen-SS, represented a fundamental instrument in executing Nazi atrocities. On September 30, 1946, the International Military Tribunal officially designated the SS as a criminal enterprise. This declaration signified that mere membership within the Waffen-SS could itself constitute criminal activity, though considerations were granted for recruits conscripted after 1943 or those demonstrating they had abstained from ideological participation. Rehabilitation courts emerged throughout occupied German territories, categorizing thousands of former Nazi officials across a spectrum ranging from principal perpetrators to fellow travelers. For Waffen-SS personnel, sentencing hinged significantly on military rank, geographic assignment, and regional political circumstances. Several prominent individuals, including SS Brigadefuhrer Kurt Meyer commanding the 12th SS Panzer Division, were prosecuted and incarcerated for violent crimes perpetrated in France and Belgium. Additional officers underwent military proceedings for actions committed in Italy, the Balkans, or along the Eastern Front. Nevertheless, the overwhelming proportion of lower-ranking soldiers were liberated within months, their records documented, but their personal circumstances largely unremarkable. Circumstances in detention centers were arduous. Numerous captives occupied temporary facilities exposed to the elements, contending with illness, insufficient provisions, and an uncertain outlook. The Allied administration, managing an enormous population of detained individuals, concentrated on locating and isolating high-ranking or infamous offenders. Those facing no immediate charges were progressively discharged between 1946 and 1947, frequently without establishing any clear trajectory. Certain individuals relocated to destroyed municipalities throughout Germany or Austria. Others existed in uncertain circumstances within refugee encampments in Allied-controlled regions. A smaller contingent determined to seek refuge elsewhere. Armed with fabricated documentation and assistance from sympathetic individuals, some former Waffen-SS commanders successfully departed Europe. Karl Nicolauselec, a former armored division officer, managed to reach Argentina by 1948, where he established an unassuming existence during Juan Perón's administration. Comparable migration pathways transported escapees towards Spain, Syria, and even the Middle East. Such departures subsequently generated speculations about organized Nazi escape networks facilitated through religious communities or governmental services, claims that remain partially validated by archival evidence, partially contested by academics. For those remaining behind, the earliest post-war period brought profound disappointment. The designation Waffen-SS had transformed into shorthand for viciousness and unquestioning devotion. These men discovered themselves barred from securing work, accessing retirement funds, and even receiving official recognition at military burial grounds. By 1948, the German administration, operating under Allied authority, continued classifying the Waffen-SS as a criminal apparatus, not as an established military institution. Within merely 36 months, a military force that had previously comprised nearly 1 million personnel had fragmented into isolated individuals, each grappling with formal judgment or anonymity. Though their reputation as a group had been permanently shaped in the courtroom proceedings at Nuremberg, their personal circumstances were merely starting to emerge. Veterans rebuilding their lives in Germany. 1949–1960s. The establishment of the Federal Republic of Germany in May 1949 signaled a transformative era not just for the nation itself, but equally for thousands who had previously served in the black uniformed organization. The nation's founding leadership, entrusted with reconstructing the nation under Allied oversight, inherited a citizenry encompassing several 100,000 former participants in the Nazi state and military forces. Interspersed among them were numerous ex-Waffen-SS individuals, typically younger, scarred by combat, and carrying significant political liabilities. From the perspective of the Western Allied powers, the official position remained unwavering. The Waffen-SS continued to be regarded as a criminal organization, and its adherents were prohibited from holding government positions, accessing benefits, and assuming public roles. However, West Germany's accelerated economic and social reconstruction increasingly encountered practical demands of assimilating millions of discharged military personnel. As tensions intensified during the Cold War, pragmatic considerations progressively displaced strict approaches to removing Nazi influences. The emerging nation required consolidation and popular backing. Throughout the early 1950s, legislative conversations surrounding military pension programs dominated parliamentary sessions. The passage of the Bundesversorgungsgesetz, officially the Federal War Victims' Welfare Act enacted in 1950, represented a pivotal transformation. Conceived to furnish assistance to wounded veterans and surviving family members, it triggered intense disagreement. Should former Waffen-SS combatants obtain financial support equivalent to standard Wehrmacht soldiers? Centrist political figures, including Prime Minister Konrad Adenauer, ultimately determined that rejecting them would jeopardize support from a substantial and influential voting bloc. During 1953, Adenauer communicated publicly that the Waffen-SS personnel conducted themselves as servicemen, comparable to all others. That pronouncement carried considerable importance symbolically. It communicated West Germany's delicate transition toward treating Waffen-SS personnel as participants within the broader military community. As a practical matter, this permitted numerous previous SS soldiers to claim restricted pension entitlements, particularly those demonstrating conscription occurring post-1943 as opposed to intentional participation. By 1956, conversation expanded to encompass the newly established Bundeswehr, the German state's contemporary armed forces. The question surfaced: would individuals with SS backgrounds be permitted to rejoin the military? Theoretically, yes. In actual implementation, merely a limited segment gained acceptance. Documentation indicates that in September 1956, from 3,117 individuals with former Waffen-SS backgrounds applying for positions, merely 508 received approval. The remainder encountered rejection due to ideological red flags, backgrounds including crimes, or discouragement from American and British military advisors concerned that the Bundeswehr would inherit historical stains from the Nazi era. Notwithstanding, those successfully reintegrated into the armed forces typically maintained complete discretion about their wartime experience. Beyond state institutions, previous Waffen-SS operatives obtained positions in manufacturing facilities, infrastructure projects, and entrepreneurial ventures. Their background in military organization and relationships with former comrades sometimes enabled them to secure employment, despite lingering social prejudice. Throughout municipalities and metropolitan areas across West Germany, numerous individuals refrained from discussing their military service, rather assimilating into the collective disregard that characterized that decade, as citizens collectively selected forward momentum rather than examination of the past. Simultaneously, scars from calls for recognition and accountability persisted. For numerous individuals affected by Nazi brutality, The possibility that Waffen-SS fighters could collect pensions appeared to represent a betrayal of basic morality. Opposition assemblies and progressive media organizations objected to the framework, whereas establishment-oriented commentators promoted it as an expression of societal reconciliation. Contemporary historians recognize that material integration frequently transpired substantially prior to addressing ethical concerns. Throughout the 1960s opening years, West Germany's economic expansion accelerated dramatically. For the overwhelming number of former SS servicemen, circumstances had achieved relative stability. However, underlying irritation remained noticeable. Considerable numbers experienced a sense of abandonment, public condemnation, or deprivation of adequate acknowledgement for their wartime contributions. These sentiments would subsequently locate a coordinated platform, a political movement that would fundamentally transform Germany's approach to preserving memory regarding its most morally complicated servicemen. Following the dismantling of the Berlin Wall in 1989, the unified German state embarked on progressively candid engagement with its wartime background. Previously restricted collections of documents and accounts transmitted by survivors illuminated how Waffen-SS formations operated in conjunction with intelligence agencies and mobile killing squads, invalidating the long-standing narrative of a politically neutral, strictly militarized organization. Simultaneously, scholarly investigation negated these misconceptions. Newer contentious situations materialized. During the 1990s, media professionals found evidence demonstrating that aging former Waffen-SS soldiers continued obtaining remittances via the pre-existing Federal War Victims Welfare Act structure. Journalistic reports issued by Der Spiegel and the New York Times triggered significant indignation, particularly when examination demonstrated that many survivors of the Holocaust had never secured parallel monetary assistance. Successive governmental administrations in Berlin investigated legislative alterations, but pension procedures, originating in post-war legislative bargains, showed themselves challenging to revise. Beyond German frontiers, the memory of the Waffen-SS adopted progressively disturbing manifestations. Throughout regions of Eastern Europe, particularly former Soviet republics in the Baltic area, and within contemporary Ukraine, fighters recruited into SS combat units started receiving ceremonial honors as indigenous combatants confronting communist subjugation. Recurring commemorative gatherings in Latvia memorializing the 15th and 19th Latvian SS military groups provoked substantial objections from Holocaust remembrance assemblies and institutions of the European Union. Such manifestations highlighted how the symbolism surrounding the Waffen-SS had become intertwined with post-Cold War political movements and nationalist ambitions. Within German society itself, public perspective underwent transformation. Through the 21st century's opening years, demonstrative admiration for the Waffen-SS transformed into socially unacceptable behavior. Dissemination of SS emblems became prohibited pursuant to Article 86A of Germany's penal system. Nonetheless, extremist networks operating digitally persisted in deploying SS representations, portraying Waffen-SS combatants as embodying virile masculinity or continental solidarity. Germany's governmental establishment has repeatedly imposed consequences, characterizing it as endangering democratic governance. Within academic investigation, scholarly examination transitioned from moral evaluation to analytical examination. Investigators including Sönke Neitzel and Peter Longerich investigated how indoctrination, hierarchical command, and brutality coexisted inside the Waffen-SS organization. Their investigations highlighted that the institution remained inseparable from Nazi governance, representing its fighting apparatus. Simultaneously, investigation into social phenomena examined how post-war Germany's collective reluctance regarding the Waffen-SS signified broader difficulty processing remorse and maintaining historical memory. In contemporary times, scarcely any previous Waffen-SS fighters remain. The organizations they created have disappeared, yet the consequences persist, manifesting in academic research, creative works, and legends continuing to encircle them. Spanning nearly a century, their chronicle serves as a caution regarding the vulnerability of historical accounts to reworking and the extended lifespan of their reverberations. If this presentation engaged your interest, investigate, What transpired with the Hitler Youth following WW2? An examination into how one of Hitler's most dedicated groupings confronted the regime's termination and the demanding endeavor of reconstructing the existence of its members. Appreciated this video? Share it with others, maintain your subscription, and activate the bell notification icon to receive upcoming installments from History Inside. Gratitude for investing your time with us. Organized movements of former Waffen-SS personnel. Throughout the 1950s opening phase, as West Germany emerged economically, previous Waffen-SS commanders began assembling. In 1951, a gathering organized by Paul Hauser, Otto Kumm, and Felix Steiner established HIG, signifying the Hilfsgemeinschaft auf Gegenseitigkeit der Einheorigen der ehemaligen Waffen-SS, approximately interpreted as the reciprocal assistance organization of participants in the historical Waffen-SS. HIG commenced as an aid organization dedicated to supporting participants unable to acquire governmental pension allocations and supplementary assistance. Progressively, however, it transformed into something substantially broader, a force advocating specific historical narratives and wielding political leverage. Its core organizers comprised retired officers, individuals of considerable sophistication and established connections, who maintained that the Waffen-SS had endured unjustifiable vilification as a criminal apparatus. Their fundamental contention was compelling in its directness. The Waffen-SS, they maintained, constituted a politically impartial military organization, servicemen equivalent to all others. This perspective garnered considerable receptivity. West Germany's right-leaning governmental bodies, engaged in competitive electoral contests and enthusiastic to mobilize military veteran constituencies, started cultivating connections with HIG representatives. Prime Minister Adenauer conducted confidential discussions with organizational controllers, and recognized personalities, including Franz Joseph Strauss, addressed commemorative occasions for military personnel. The 1953 statement from Adenauer that previous SS members conducted themselves as servicemen, comparable to all others, reflected the results of HIG advocacy. Through the mid-1950s onward, HIG had established presence throughout Western Germany and represented considerable membership. The organization disseminated publications including Der Freiwillige, The Participant, assembled gathering events celebrating shared backgrounds, and subsidized the dissemination of written accounts that portrayed SS combat units as militarily distinguished instead of ideologically motivated. Paul Hauser's 1953 publication Soldaten wie andere auch, military personnel, like everyone else, functioned as the authoritative document establishing this interpretation. HIG attained maximum prominence during the 1960s. Certain former SS commanders achieved positions of significance in municipal administration, and commemorative gatherings celebrating Waffen-SS military formations received journalistic treatment as standard occurrences devoid of skepticism. Nevertheless, when Germany's younger demographic addressed Nazi history with intensified analytical investigation in the subsequent decade, cultural disapproval diminished progressively. Students of history and media commentators disclosed HIAG's inclinations toward historical reinterpretation and its actions to diminish recognition of systematic brutality. In 1978, a comprehensive examination by the periodical Der Spiegel documented HIAG's substantial political relationships and campaigns to sway governmental officials regarding pension regulations. The revelation marked a fundamental transition. Established governmental factions commenced public disassociation, and HIAG's public standing declined substantially. Nonetheless, the association persisted over the following 10 years, perpetuated by aging combatants devoted to perpetuating their particular historical perspective. Throughout the 1980s, HIG experienced diminishing participation. The organization pursued neighborhood disputes surrounding commemorative installations and burial ground memorials, while grassroots progressive movements challenged SS commemorative gatherings. In 1992, confronting dwindling participation and expanding public rejection, HIG formally concluded its operations. Germany's contemporary relationship with this history. When HIG terminated activities in 1992, observers presumed historical conversations surrounding the Waffen-SS would gradually disappear from discourse. However, the influence of these individuals, combined with the narratives constructed about them, demonstrated remarkable resilience. Many generations beyond the dissolution of the last Waffen-SS military formations, their existence persists in shaping conversations regarding military memory, responsibility for wrongdoing, and collective identification within Germany and internationally.